First, we need to gain access to the display. Pop off the covers, remove those. Two little snaps there. Slide it out. Disconnect it. We've got our display out. What we need to do is remove it from here and start changing out the LEDs. Now that we got our cover removed, we can remove the display from it. There's 4 little tabs on the inside. You just pinch those gently. Pop out the display. Okay, we've got our unit removed. All we need to do now is take off the bezel. There's 4 little tabs on here. Careful not to break those. There we go. Okay, now we just need to get the protection glass off there. I found that it's a little easier to start at the bottom where they have the 2 little tabs inside the center. They're not quite as aggressive as holding them on. It just takes a little bit of finagling, and I certainly don't want to crack this, although it is plastic and not glass. Just takes a few fingers here. There's our display. What you certainly don't want to do is press down on this display or try to pry in here to pry this out. You'll end up breaking the glass. This is unprotected liquid crystal. It's sensitive even to touch. If you touch it too hard, you can possibly damage the display on it. What I have found is that you can push the display out the back by using the pins and by using your fingers or a wooden dowel or something. It may require just a little bit of coaxing. There we go. Get that thing removed. There we go. I've got it taken out. These are the 2 LEDs up here in the upper left and right hand corners. They're just soldered in there on the surface mount. We're going to replace those. This is a little 3mm LED that we're going to be putting in there. It's kind of a clear color, but it emits a blue light. This LED, unfortunately, is just a little bit too big to fit in the exact same spot. So what we need to do is shave off about 1 millimeter or so, and that gives us just enough room to get it back down in the case. And how I found it works best is just literally sand it down. It sands down pretty darn quick. In fact, if you're not careful, you may take a little too far. You don't want to get it, well, I can't really show you on the camera very well, but if you look through there on the clear, you can actually see the electrodes on the inside. You don't want to get all the way down to those and expose those, so we're going to stay about 1 millimeter, half a millimeter shy of that. Doesn't take very long to get down there, and then what I'm going to do is use 600 grit sandpaper just to polish it up a little bit. And then on top of that, I have some buffing compound that I used, and it actually makes it almost clear. Kind of hard to see, but I'm going to clean it up. What that does is it does 2 things. One, not only does it give you a little bit of clearance, but it also keeps the light from being quite so focused and end up looking like a laser going straight down or diagonally down through the display. It's a little more of a diffused light, and what I'm going to do is wipe this off, clean this off. Clean that rest of that off there. Okay. Now, here's a very important critical part. It's going to be very difficult to show you this on the camera. However, what you might notice is there's a fat and a thin side in there. This has to do with the cathode and anode on here. It's very important that you get them installed the proper way. If you turn them around, it simply just won't work. Most likely it's not going to burn anything up because it is a diode and nothing's going to flow in that way. But you do have to have the polarity correct on it. And on these, the way I'm going to bend the legs on it, the larger area is always to the left as you look at it and how it's going to be mounted. Hopefully I can zoom in on the editing and kind of show that a little bit. What I'm going to do now is bend these legs completely down. I hope I don't snap them off. And then I'm going to bend them completely forward. Just make a big U shape out of it. You can see that. And then I'm going to trim off the excess. The legs shouldn't be any longer than the bulb itself. But we want to leave enough on there we can get a good solder. Okay. There we go. Okay, I'm going to remove the first LED on here. I found the easiest way to do it is actually to solder across both leads at the same time and melt them both at the same time and to pull it off together. Hopefully I can do this without too much shaking here. And there we are. So the lines are pretty good. I'm ready to install the LED. This is probably a little more difficult part. Good soldering techniques kind of come into play here. Not saying that I got it, but I've been able to do it. Biggest nemesis is I tend to shake a lot. I found it was easier to actually melt the solder on the board and then very quickly put the lead in it. Let me touch them up here real quick. Now we have our first LED in there. You probably can't see that. It's very difficult to show. Did a quick test, everything seemed to work just fine, so now I'm going to do the other side. It's doing the same thing. Just melt across both leads. There we go. There, that looks good. I'm going to inspect it, make darn sure that it didn't solder blob across the two leads and short it out. I'm going to go plug it in real quick, test it, and then we'll put it back in the case. Alright, let's plug it back in and see how she looks.